In this video, we're going to be talking about whole foods. Whole foods are really important for your health, testosterone, fitness, well-being. And I'm going to be giving you all my years of knowledge in the space of 10 minutes, or at least as much as I can. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Angus Jobson. I'm an online fitness coach who specialises in testosterone maximisation, in disproving all of the bullshit mainstream agendas against real food, the stuff that promotes goy slop and all of that other crap which is ruining people's health nowadays. So I want to educate you guys on this. So in this video, we're going to cover what whole foods are, which ones to look out for, which ones are the best, what benefits you should expect to see from them, how you can make them interesting in your life, although I think they're interesting enough as they are, as well as how you can avoid ultra-processed food and what ingredients to look out for, both good and bad. And also what whole foods might not be ideal, because not every bit of whole food is good. So let's get into this. First of all, what are whole foods? Whole foods is anything that's come from the ground or an animal, the stuff that God has put on this earth, right? So for example, take this sweet potato. It's come from the ground. It's the whole food itself. It's the ingredient. It's got no other weird shit in it, unless of course, pesticides, but we're not being too pedantic here. Making it whole food. Same applies to beef, right? It's meat, which comes from the animal. Therefore, it's whole food. Eggs, dairy, even though it's gone through a process, it's still one ingredient, right? It comes from milk. It comes from that whole produce from the animal. Some other examples are things like 100% dark chocolate, although 85% and 70% is still whole foods, depending on the ingredients. If it's chocolate with cane sugar, that's good, right? Another example which I love to use is ice cream. Ice cream is technically whole food when it has the right ingredients. It's double cream, milk, egg yolk, vanilla extract if it's vanilla flavoured, or other natural flavourings depending on the fruit they use for other flavours. And maybe cane sugar again, so it's a whole food still. Now, why whole foods, right? Why should you choose whole foods over non-whole foods, which is, the stuff that has been man-made, the stuff that's around nowadays for the past 100 years. You've got man-made sweeteners, you've got aspartame, you've got things like seed oils, which although they come from a whole food, they're highly processed, often mixed with other stuff. Why should you avoid those and eat whole foods? Well, these are the foods that your body loves because they contain micronutrients and they're stable. Now, those are the two main criteria or criterion for these types of food, right? When you eat food that is ultra processed, and the reason why it's bad is because it's unstable. The chemical makeup of it is actually unstable. And when you consume that, especially with certain things that have fats in them, unstable fats, polyunsaturated fats, that kind of stuff, so seed oils, you're basically becoming unstable yourself. Those fats become part of your body. It's not like sugar, for example, natural sugar, where your body can just burn it off, it goes through the bloodstream, you have the insulin response, and then you're good. With this, it's actually becoming part of your body. So that stacks up over time. Same with inflammation. Inflammation doesn't just leave the body, right? So, for example, if you want to avoid that, you need to avoid seed oils. You want to avoid ultra-processed ingredients like aspartame, artificial sweeteners, dextrose, multiple forms of sugar that aren't real sugar, potato starch, corn syrup, all of these weird things, right? That's why I bang on about ingredients so much. And you want to avoid those, because that inflammation stacks up over time. Too much omega-6, not enough omega-3, for example, right? Or linoleic acid buildup, free radicals in your body, and that will lead to low testosterone. You might have an underactive thyroid as a result, which means slow metabolism, easy fat gain. Low testosterone, slow metabolism, recipe for the skinny fat physique, right? These are things you do not want. And what makes it worse is that ultra-processed stuff ruins your gut bacteria, feeds the bad bacteria, and therefore makes you crave more bad food, which keeps you in that cycle of, stress eating, low energy, constant crashes, eating bad food to get energy again, your body craving more bad food. It's a very slippery slope. So in terms of that, are there any whole foods that you should avoid for similar reasons? And actually, yes. Believe it or not, not every bit of whole food is perfect. Some people say, just eat whole food and you'll be fine. Not exactly. For example, the things you should avoid are things like legumes, nuts, and seeds, right? You shouldn't eat those, or at least if you do, keep it to a minimum, because One, they're highly inflammatory within your gut, especially legumes. Your body doesn't digest them very well, hence why the amount of gas you get and bloating and discomfort from eating those types of food. And two, unstable fats. Most nuts have the same problem that most seed oils have, right? Full of polyunsaturated fats, which means when you eat them, your cells are going to become unstable. And not to mention, most nuts also have a massively high amount of omega-6 to omega-3, which are different types of fatty acids. So too much omega-6 will also spike inflammation. And these are coming from nuts, which are whole foods. Now, the same can be said for fatty fish or just fish in general. Too much fish, right? Sorry, my throat feels a bit funny today. Too much fish is going to be the same problem, right? Too much polyunsaturated fat, it's unstable. You do get more omega-3s, which is good, but the polyunsaturated fats are still a problem. So fish, that's why you only have a couple of times a week. You don't eat it every day. And other fish like mercury, right? Mercury accumulation from tuna, from predatory fish, too much swordfish, although that's not as common. But a lot of guys overeat tuna. Tuna you should only have once a week because of mercury accumulation, which can also damage cells, damage your hormones, etc. So yeah, not all whole foods are perfect. I would also stay away from too many raw vegetables or cruciferous vegetables in general. Stick to root vegetables, onions, potatoes, those types of basic vegetables, and cook them. And it's really good for your body, right? Ray Peat is a guy who spoke about this. Too many cruciferous vegetables just inflames your gut. So how can you make the whole food diet interesting? Well, you could, I think the whole food is interesting as it is. I could eat a sweet potato cooked in olive oil, a bit of salt and pepper, and I love it. It tastes delicious. But that's because my palate has adjusted. Let's say for the perspective of you guys who are maybe new to this lifestyle, how do you do it? Well, there's so many things you can do. One, steak and eggs, delicious. You can't go wrong with it. Beef mince cooked in balsamic vinegar with some onions in there, caramelised with a bit of butter. You can have salt, pepper, cayenne pepper, different types of seasoning, tomato puree, whole food, it's tomatoes, right? Those are things you can do. Loads of stuff you can do. One thing to avoid, right, is pasta and bread. Anything made from flour nowadays or grains, I would just stay away from. So oats, bread, pasta, stay away from it, right? Unless you make your own bread from unrefined flour, it's just not worth it. Too much of an insulin response, your body doesn't digest it well because of the gluten. It's not very good. So, but you can still have rice, you can still have potatoes, etc. Ice cream, right? Great example. This dark chocolate dipped in raw honey tastes like normal chocolate, but you've got 2 whole food ingredients. It's amazing, right? Tastes just as good. You've got buttered dates. Dates with butter or coconut oil are some of honestly, the most palatable things I've ever eaten in the world. Taste like celebrations. Yeah, it's whole food. You can do so many things with whole food. One thing I haven't mentioned is Greek yogurt bowls, right? Greek yogurt with fruit, with maple syrup, cinnamon. Oh, it's amazing. It's like dessert. You can't go wrong with that. So the question for a lot of you isn't that, the whole food diet isn't interesting. You just haven't known how to apply it. And you haven't done it consistently enough. Part of you always goes back to eating cheat meals. And this is why you shouldn't have cheat meals. Because one, like if you truly are at peace and at one with your diet, you don't need to feel guilty about it. But two, why would you want to eat processed food if you can eat Greek yogurt bowls, ice cream, dark chocolate? You see where I'm going with this? You build up enough momentum that it becomes your new lifestyle. So when you start to do this, right, what changes about your life? Well, you become a whole new person. And this is something that people need to wrap their head around. This isn't just about, I'm the sort of guy that eats dark chocolate. So many of you are still the sort of guys that go and, maybe 70% of your diet is organic, comes from a butcher, is really good. But then 30% of the time you eat shit and undo all of the benefits. That is no good. You're better off eating from a supermarket, buying cheap whole food that might not be perfect, but at the very least, your habits are dialed in. And that's the most important thing here. And when you have those habits dialed in, you do become a whole new person. You are the type of guy that will go to a family event and is just completely at peace knowing that you will eat the right food. You want to eat the right food. You're not tempted by any cheat meals, anything like that. You know you could have the busiest day in the world and you're going to come home and want the same stuff that you always eat because it makes you feel good and because you have learnt to enjoy it. When you get to that position, you are in a powerful place. A lot of people underestimate how good it is to be there because most of you, even if you're trying very hard to follow an organic diet and avoid goy slop at all costs, you're still going wrong. You're still slipping up And then as a result, you're not consistent and you're constantly battling back and forward between whole foods cravings, whole food cravings, and you ultimately never build up enough momentum to get out of your situation. Believe it or not, if you want to see the benefits of high testosterone, good skin, good digestive health, long-term habits, you need to go all in, right? And this is where my coaching comes into play. For a lot of you, if you're new to this, you might be seeing this for the first time. Bit of a different story, but for some of you, you have been watching my content for a while, whether it's from Instagram or YouTube, and you know that you need something big enough to commit to it, right? And all of my clients, whenever they start up, they have a reason to start. And for a lot of them, it's because they just haven't been holding themselves accountable. They've been falling off. They haven't got access to the same information, the same knowledge that my clients have. And they haven't got the proximity to people like me who have the result. I have transformed multiple men from being ultra processed food addicts, people that live the same life as everyone else with skinny fat bodies, with low testosterone, into men who are high achievers who can do the lifestyle forever. So if that's the case, why would you sit on the sidelines anymore instead of taking action? If you want to take action, you can book a call with me below and we will see if it's a good fit, if it makes sense for us to work together. And if you're new to this, then by all means, consume more of my free content. But don't make the mistake of thinking that's enough. For a lot of you, you fall into the trap of staying in your comfort zone, of listening to the free content and then not taking action. It's not good enough. You need to have something that brings you into the lifestyle so you are a whole new person. And that's exactly what I offer. That's why I focus on whole foods, because I would be lying to you guys if I said you can still eat all the food you love, all the processed food, and be exactly the same. Bullshit, right? That's not how it works at all. In fact, that's what keeps people dependent on coaches for life. They can't build enough momentum up to break out of the cycle. So I hope you guys found this useful. If you come from YouTube, follow my Instagram. It's in the description. If you come from Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube and stay tuned. I'll see you on the next one.